Hello, welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and today I'm bringing you a TBR. I know I said that I would stop doing them, but this isn't an October TBR as such, this is more a themed TBR, so this is an October spooky TBR. I am planning on reading these all in the month of October. I have a heap of other stuff I need/want to get read as well, including rereading Bone Shard Daughter, so I can read Bone Shard Emperor, but that's not spooky enough. I've picked out 8 spooky books, and I think I'm going to try and read 2 every week in October. So by the time you're watching this, I should have already read at least 1 or 2 of them. And then I think I'm going to try and vlog them. So we should have like a spooky TBR and then like a spooky vlog in the moment as it happened kind of thing. And then we'll do a wrap up at the end of that vlog. And it should be some interesting content, I hope. I have all 8 of them physically, which never happens. I'm always reading something on a Kindle. So this is really exciting. A couple of them are rereads. Most of them are new to me because, as you all know if you've watched any of my Halloween videos before, I am a spooky, scary baby and I do not like to be scared by things. So I'm going to talk you through this list and everything that's on it and why I'm rereading it or why I'm picking out to read it. We'll talk about the blurbs. We'll talk about everything. It's going to be great. Welcome to the video. First up, I have Small Favours by Erin A. Craig, which is a book that I pre-ordered and still haven't read. This came out in, I want to say August? Either August or July, so it's been a while. This doesn't look like it would be a spooky book at all compared to her previous book, House of Salt and Sorrows, but this is a loose Rumpelstiltskin-inspired story, I believe, and let me read you the blurb. Ellery Downing is waiting for something to happen. Life in isolated Amity Falls, surrounded by an impenetrable forest, has a predictable sameness. Her days are filled with tending to her family's beehives, chasing after her sisters, and dreaming of bigger things while her twin Samuel is free to roam as he wishes. Early settlers fought off monstrous creatures in the woods, and whispers that the creatures still exist keep the Downings and their neighbours from venturing too far. When some townsfolk go missing on a trip to fetch supplies, a heavy unease settles over the falls. Strange activities begin to plague the town, and as the seasons change, it's clear that something is terribly wrong. The creatures are real, and they're offering to fulfil the residents' deepest desires, however grand, for just a small favour. These seemingly trifling demands, however, hide sinister intentions. Soon Ellery finds herself in a race against time to stop Amity Falls, her family, and the boy she loves from going up in flames. Small Favours is a mesmerising and chilling novel about dark wishes and dreams and what lurks in the shadows of the people you think you know. So yeah, it doesn't sound all that lovely. There are bees involved. I'm excited for the bees. I just know I love Erin A. Craig's spooky atmospheric writing. Or I've read it in the one other of her books that I've read, but I really enjoyed House of Salt and Sorrows. I've been excited for this since I filmed that video and I realised she had something new coming out, which at the time felt years and years away, and then now I have it, I haven't read it. This is definitely priority for me. Also, please just enjoy these end papers. Please focus. Thank you. There are bees. Next up is the first of my rereads, and this is something that I try and read every Halloween. I don't think I succeeded last year. This is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White, and this is one of my favourite Kirsten White books. I fall in and out of love with her stuff. I haven't enjoyed her Buffy stuff. I haven't really enjoyed the Guinevere stuff that's gone on. I haven't really got the urge to read the last one of those books, but I probably ought to so I can unhaul the previous 2. It's fine. But I know I like this. This is a Frankenstein retelling from the perspective of Elizabeth, who, if you know the original Frankenstein, becomes Victor Frankenstein's wife at one point. So Elizabeth Lavenza hasn't had a proper meal in weeks. Her thin arms are covered with bruises from her caregiver, and she is on the verge of being thrown into the streets until she is brought to the home of Victor Frankenstein, an unsmiling, solitary boy who has everything except a friend. Victor is her escape from misery. Elizabeth does everything she can to make herself indispensable, and it works. She's taken in by the Frankenstein family and rewarded with a warm bed, delicious food, and dresses of the finest silk. Soon she and Victor are inseparable. But her new life comes at a price. As the years pass, Elizabeth's survival depends on managing Victor's dangerous temper and indulging his every whim, no matter how depraved. Behind her blue eyes and sweet smile lies the calculating heart of a girl determined to stay alive whatever the cost, as the world she knows is consumed by darkness. This was published alongside the 200th anniversary of Frankenstein, and I really enjoy it. This is probably the wrong time to tell you, I've never actually sat down and read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Maybe I will do that this year. I don't know. I did read Dracula last year. I really enjoyed this book for... Initially, I really thought it was going to be just a sort of like, here she is, isn't it terrible what happened to her, which I wasn't really here for. But then it gets way more into what level of responsibility you have for when others are doing bad things around you and you notice it. And yeah, just some interesting stuff. I really enjoyed this book. I'm excited to read it again. I feel like Frankenstein is kind of like quintessential Halloween stuff, so that'll be good. This next book was a recommendation from Justine. We were around at her place the other week having a wonderful time. Hi Justine, if you're watching this. I will tag her below so that you can go and enjoy her channel as well, because she does do excellent book recommendations. And I said, Justine, I'm a horror baby. I don't know what I want to read. I read Mexican Gothic and I liked it. what else do I do? So she recommended House of Hollow, which I've not looked into. I've not read anything. I think this is YA because it's hotkey, and it says it has glamour, horror, unraveling clues to somewhere unknown. That's implying that's 4 things. Unraveling clues to somewhere unknown. Look, that's not 4 things, hotkey books. Let's see. Dark, dangerous things happen around the Hollow sisters, ever since they disappeared as children, only to reappear a month later with no memory of what had happened to them. Odd, eerie occurrences follow in their wake. When Grey, the eldest, goes missing again, Iris and Vivi? Not sure. Are left to figure out the mystery, but they aren't the only ones looking for her. As they brush against the supernatural, Iris realises that the world that returned them 10 years ago might be calling them back, but just how much horror lies beneath the surface. Ooh, interesting. I wonder if YA horror might be the way to go, really. This has an ant on her face, though, and I do have a deep fear of ants. So we'll see how we go. But Samantha Shannon says this story will steal up your spine, slip beneath your skin, and stick to you like honey. So maybe there's a bee connection again. I don't know what I'm going to think of this. Justine does excellent recommendations. I'm excited to find out if I like it or not. I think that's the most horror book on this list. We'll see. And it's YA horror. Yeah. I wanted to get a witchy book in there, and I was scouring my TBR, like, what do I have? What do I have that has witches in? And I realised I have a book that has the title name Witches. This is Witches Steeped in Gold. This is another YA. This is also from Hotkey Books. And what's in it? Trust no witch. That's helpful. Thank you so much. This is not like Halloween spooky themed. I just wanted some witches and I needed an excuse to read this, so I would like to read it. I picked this up when we were on holiday in Norfolk earlier in the year, so it's kind of my souvenir from that trip, which is nice. Uriah Adair has spent her life in a cell. Heir of an overthrown and magically gifted dynasty, she was exiled from the island nation of Asia? Could be. Aika? Ayca. Not sure. But every day brings her closer to freedom and vengeance. Jasmine Carriot grew up dressed in gold with stolen magic at her fingertips. Daughter of the self-crowned Doyenne, her existence is a threat to her mother's rule, but Jasmine has no intention of dying. Sworn enemies, the 2 witches enter a deadly alliance to take down the woman who threatens both their worlds. But revenge is a bloody pursuit, and nothing is certain, except the lengths Uriah and Jasmine will go to win this game. A fierce and thrilling story where dangerous magic reigns supreme and betrayal lurks beneath every word. I'm excited to pick it up. I don't know. That's kind of 4 YA books on this list so far, and I haven't read YA in a while, so we'll see. We'll see how we go. This is my other reread. This is Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and I need to reread this partly because I haven't ever written the overbooked video for it, and this is coming up very soon, so I think this might be quite early in the month. But also because Dracula, it's what I want to read. This is a lyrical and dreamy reimagining of Dracula's Brides. A Dowry of Blood is a story of desire, obsession, and emancipation. Saved from the brink of death by a mysterious stranger, Constanta is transformed from a medieval peasant into a bride fit for an undying king. But when Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat and a starving artist into his web of passion and deceit, Constanta realises that her beloved is capable of terrible things. Finding comfort in the arms of her rival consort, she begins to unravel their husband's dark secrets. With the lives of everyone she loves on the line, Constanta will have to choose between her own freedom and her love for her husband. But bonds forged by blood can only be broken by death. I loved this the first time I read it. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. This is very much more sort of a story of an abusive relationship, which might be very triggering. Content warnings apply. It's just the perfect read for this time of year. It's atmospheric, it's spooky, it's got vampires. What more do you want? Speaking of vampires, this is, how did they describe it? A supernatural noir. This I picked up along with the next book that we'll talk about in my local Waterstones, who normally have the worst sci-fi fantasy collection. Like, it's just terrible, so I don't know if they hired someone new or if I was just there on the right day. But I picked up Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Marina Garcia. Now, this originally came out in 2017, I think. First published in the United States in 2017, but this is the UK version from Joe Fletcher Books that was published this year. And this is a pulse-pounding neo-noir reimagining vampire lore. Welcome to Mexico City, an oasis in a sea of vampires. Domingo, a lonely garbage-collecting street kid, is just trying to survive its heavily policed streets when a jaded vampire on the run swoops into his life. Atle, the descendant of Aztec blood drinkers, is smart and beautiful and very dangerous. Domingo is mesmerised. Atle needs to escape the city quickly to get far away from the rival narco-vampire clan, relentlessly pursuing her. Her plan doesn't include Domingo, but little by little she finds herself warming to the scrappy young man and his undeniable charm. As the trail of corpses stretches behind her, local cops and crime bosses both start closing in. Vampires, humans, cops and criminals collide in the dark streets of Mexico City. Atle and Domingo stand little chance of making it out alive before the city devours them all, but they are determined to try. If I was picking this up in the bookshop having just read Gods of Jade and Shadow, I probably wouldn't want to read this, because I didn't gel with Gods of Jade and Shadow exactly. It wasn't like quite my cup of tea, and this has a lot of that, like, I've met a supernatural being and now we're going on an adventure, which not necessarily for me in that context, But having just read Velvet Was the Night and absolutely loving it, so I've read more of her noir stuff, and having loved Mexican Gothic, I think I'm going to enjoy this. I really do. It's not very long, and it's got vampires, and I really like Sylvia Moreno Garcia's atmosphere, and that's what I look for in a spooky book, so I'm hoping this is going to be a good time. If you've read this, let me know, because I don't think I've had anyone who's read this. I don't believe so. Also, the cover's just beautiful. The other book that I picked up kind of whimfully in the bookshop is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This is purely because Justine has read it. Justine is just my source of horror recommendations. They had his other book, which is my best friend's Exorcism. I ended up picking up this one because I could not justify buying another book. Like, it was one of those moments where I was like, we have to make the call, this one or that one, and we'll go back and get the other one if we liked it. Yeah, let me tell you what it is. Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic, her teenage kids have their own lives, her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. Then James Harris walks into her life during the summer of 1993. He makes her feel things she hasn't felt in years, but when children on the other side of town go missing, Patricia wonders if he's connected. Is he a Brad Pitt, a Bundy, or something much worse? Well, this won a lot of awards. Based on a little bit I've read of this, this is wanting to write more from the parents' perspective in a horror film, where my best friend's Exorcism is from a teenage perspective. I'm really interested to read this. I think it's going to be a good time. Justine says wonderful things about this book, though I would watch her review of his latest one before you pick that one up, because I don't think she was such big of a fan. I'm excited. I might read the other one if I enjoy this one. And last of the 8 books is more of a thriller, eerie kind of book, I think. And again, much like Witches Steeped in Gold, I just need a good excuse to read this, and this is my excuse. This is Sarah Gailey's The Echo Wife. If you've been watching my videos, you will know I absolutely love Sarah Gailey's writing. I think they write the most absolutely fantastic books, and The Echo Wife has basically been on my list every single time I've talked about them for ages as just their next thing that I really need to read. She was perfect, everything he wanted. He made her that way. It was meant to be an evening to honour and celebrate Evelyn Caldwin's award-winning career-making scientific research, but Evelyn has other things on her mind. Things like Nathan, her husband, who has left her for a younger, better, newer woman. A woman who is now pregnant, but shouldn't be, and is strikingly familiar. Too familiar to be a coincidence. A woman who shouldn't exist. I have a feeling this is cloning stuff, which I feel like leans into it's on the cover, but like the Black Mirror kind of horror aspect of things. I'm really excited to pick this up. I have been for a while. I don't want to talk about it too much more because I just want to get into it and read it. I will say, I don't like this cover as much as the US cover. I think the US cover is nicer, but I didn't want to buy a US hardback when I could buy a nice little UK paperback, so that was fun. The plan is to try and read 2 of these a week and to vlog them. I think I'm going to try and pair them up. Maybe we'll do that now, so that we get the most kind of variety. I know I need to read Dowry of Blood soon, so that's Dracula, and let's read that with one of the longer ones. Let's do that with Small Favours. Nice chunk. That'll be a week. House of Hollow with vampires? Slaying vampires? Let's do Witches Steeped in Gold and The Echo Wife, just because I know I'm probably going to love The Echo Wife and I'm not certain I'm going to love Witches Steeped in Gold. And then we'll do Certain Dark Things and Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, probably in the last week, because I like to read Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein as close to Halloween as humanly possible. Do you have any spooky reading plans? If you, like me, were a horror baby who wanted to get into it, what would you say made you get into horror? What did you love to pick up? I really don't want to read Stephen King. Like, I just don't want to. I'm not going to get into Stephen King. I'm okay. But if there's anything else I should be checking out, do let me know, because I'm getting into more scary books. I really am. I genuinely am. This isn't like 2 years ago where I was like, oh, I think it was last year's video where I was like, maybe I'll be a horror aficionado by next year. I'm not. I'm really not. I really enjoy dragons, and that's pretty much all I want to talk about. Do you have any Halloween traditions that you really like to get into? Are you carving a pumpkin this year? This might be my first year I carve a pumpkin. I haven't quite decided. I'm in a place where I can welcome children to the door. Also, dog Halloween costume? Maybe. Would it be cute? Would she tolerate it? I don't know. Plonk all of the stuff. All of your thoughts on Halloween and spooky reading down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you would like a vlog on these, because I'm on the fence about it. Let me know. While you're down there commenting, please do subscribe if you haven't already. It makes me feel loved and appreciated, especially in this, the spookiest month of the year. You can also follow me on all of my social media. Come hang out on Discord. We have a lovely time talking about books, and you can see all of the Luna pictures. I share them there all the time. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. These seemingly trifling demands, however, hide sinister This is the dark descent of Frank. I will tag her all in the stuff in the blue, and I will tag her all in the stuff in the blue. But when Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat, why can't I talk? That felt good. That felt like a good video.